Hello, I'm Ramon Wrights, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you back to Cine Bijou for our second season. We're also making our Apple Podcast debut. Over the coming months, we'll continue our exploration of independent film with thoughtful features and engaging interviews celebrating the diversity and innovation of the indie film world. Now, if you're new to Cine Bijou, first off, welcome, and I really hope you enjoy the show. You can also visit all our previous episodes on the following platforms: Spotify, Podbean, and YouTube. And should you wish to support our work, you can become a member on Patreon. Your contribution, however modest, helps us to spotlight voices and stories that might otherwise go unheard. So wherever you are, grab your popcorn and settle in as we present today's feature. Can an Italian animation studio shake up the global scene? Why not? Studio Croma Animation, led by Matteo Buranti and Arianna Gheller, is making its debut at the prestigious Tribeca Film Festival next week with Playing God, a dark poetic dive into artistic perfectionism and identity. Written by Gianmarco Valentino and Matteo, who also directs, the film tells the story of a discarded clay sculpture and its journey from rejection to acceptance. The visuals mix stop motion, claymation and pixelation to create a gritty, almost live-action feel, amplified by Pier Dano Ferni's powerful score and Gugliemo Trauvetter's haunting cinematography. We caught up with Matteo and Arianna to talk about the film, the creative process and the future of Italian animation. Thank you both for taking the time to speak to Cine Bijou. I've watched the film Playing God. It's a very powerful, intense film with some brilliant animation, and obviously we'll talk about that more sort of a little bit down the line, but just I think everybody wants to know a little bit more about you both, Matteo and Arianna, and so what your backgrounds are and what got you into filmmaking.
Yeah, so first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting us. So my background, so basically I completely self-taught. I just starting doing stop motion animation when I was in high school, meeting some friends and start to be passionate together this kind of medium. And of course, during the high school, you are like a volcano of ideas and things to do and everything. So basically, we start like painting, sculpting, playing with action figures, with all the actor and actress of the movies, with the camera and filming these action figures and this adventure in some ways. And at some point, we started to thought like, okay, but in the video, we can see the hands, of the puppeteer. And we really want to have maybe to make a more magic, like how can it possible to have these action figures and moving these action figures without the hands? So at the same point, it's grown the idea of the stop motion, but at the time, I remember it was like 2011, I think, I don't remember actually. At the time, we don't know anything about stop motion, just like the first feature film, like oh gosh, I don't remember the name in English of the film.
Tell me in Italian, I can
Nightmare Before Christmas, of course. So we start with this kind of movie.
How can you like forget it?
Yeah, I can. I don't know actually. The first film from Laika, like Coraline, for example, or Paranormal at the time was the last film of Laika. So we start to research from this movie. And at the time there was like social media or stuff, then it's really easy to see a behind the scene of stop motion. At the time it was just some backstage book or something. So we start to buy all the backstage book we found online, and we start to analyze frame by frame, like, so for making the puppets, here is the point that you have to rig, or maybe what is this, and how the animator has put himself in this way, all this kind of question. And step by step, we have built an expertise. We both the software, the Dragon Frame software for making stop motion, and we start to make experiments. And so I'm start this career in some ways when I was 20 making puppets. So I start building puppets, leave the school, of course, because of the passion was too strong. And I start building puppet, the other guys start making animation and stuff. And during the time we have worked at so many short film, music video, working for television here in Italy, for advertise and stuff. And then we met with Arianna during the year, and we start to develop the first seed of Plain God. And this is some ways is our last period of our life in some ways, when we have basically developed all our company, stop motion company, on making this short film. But this maybe is another story, and we can tell maybe later.
Yeah. Yeah, what about me? So I started even me in the high school, actually, because it was about instinct. I don't know. It was really, I was super passionate about film, and I used to watch a lot of film and TV, etc. I spent a lot of time, without sleeping during the night to watch those like pirate channels, etc. So I really experiment a lot with films, but there was at some point I went in the library of my country. I grew up in the countryside, so there was this little small library, and I found this. I remember this pop-up book, and it was we have this common point in our story. It was the Nightmare Before Christmas pop-up book. So I remember that I wasn't aware about the film actually at that point. So I just fell in love with the character, with the Jack Skeleton, because I thought, oh my God, he is so powerful, even though he doesn't have the eyes. So I had this strong imprinting with this character, and then I grew up and I understood that there was Tim Burton doing his film, and I watched all his filmography, and in that moment I understood that he was working even with this strong stop motion technique, animation technique. So nothing. I just decided to start to study it, and I found that in Italy, we don't have a strong market about animation actually, and we don't have university that teach this kind of stuff. But we just have one in Turin, which actually teach just animation, but 2D and 3D. But I decided actually to go and study the rules of animation, to just start. And I remember that in my free time, I decided to experiment alone, stop motion alone. So I I remember that I occupied this room that was unused by the other colleagues of the school, and I started my first experiment with stop motion animating. Then I graduated in this university, and I was completely, without job, without nothing, and I found an article on internet talking about La Valigia, their first short film.
The suitcase.
The suitcase,
To be correct.
yeah, the translation. And then just I decided to move on Bologna, the city where the studio were found, and nothing. I met Matteo, and we started to talk about our passion about stop motion, about cinema, and we found that we really wanted to create something powerful, because we really had this strong need to tell a story, to start something really personal. and nothing. We start playing God, but at the beginning we didn't know how to, produce it and even to animate in this way. So it was a long path. In the middle, we obviously start to work together because we found that my skills were different from his skills, and we meshed them together. And in some ways, we created our career together. And it was a long path.
You know what is the most fascinating part about stop motion is that the stop motion animation technique is like a borderline frontier from animation and live action.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's just like in the middle, you know. So you can work like a 2D animation, but at the same time you have the possibility to work like a live action, because of course for making stop motion you need the equipment basically, but a lot of ability that you found more in live action, like setting the light, the texture, everything is real because you shot your frame with like not video, but just like photo camera, just pictures, you know. So actually, this kind of stuff, it's something that when you start, it's difficult that because you are maybe you are fascinating about this kind of stuff, but for me, for example, I was not completely understand the potential, the artistic potential of stop motion. It was just making puppets and doing scenography and just moving and just making little short film, little story. But at the end, step by step, you understand the powerful art technique that animation stop motion is actually. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's quite time consuming and painstaking, isn't it? Because you have to, especially with watching playing God, one of the things that really caught my attention, and I always look for this in stop motion, is you have a character with very few distinct features. You've got sort of like the forehead, sort of the eye line, and the eyes and the mouth. And that's about it. You don't have a defined cheekbone or anything else, yet it's so very expressive. And I can only imagine that you have to, just to get all those expressions, all those emotions to convey, you have to move the figurine a tiny bit, film it, obviously make sure the lighting's right, and then move it again. And just to sort of maybe get a smile or a grimace must take quite a bit of time, must take hours almost. It's a very painstaking process, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we thank a lot to decide to choose actually the clay animation because it was impossible with other techniques to achieve that kind of detail emotion on his face. So yeah, we went in the correct path, I think. And to create that strong emotion. A nice story. It was that I had a mirror in front of me during the animation, and I was like trying to reproduce the acting on my face, like imagine myself in his situation and reproducing his emotion. And then I tried through the sculpting with my tools to reproduce, the lids, the eyebrows, etc. movement, and I could create a really small movement, and even that it's worth it for create this strong emotion. So it was impossible, for example, with puppet animation, like the replacement of the masks in the normal puppet animation. It was impossible.
Yeah, I mean, doing stop motion, of course, you have a privilege to play with the materials, actually. This is another really, really great stuff about this art technique. In this case, the main materials was the plasticine, the clay. Of course, because it's part of the movie, like the sculpture that create, a new life from clay. So the main material was clay. And one of the best things about clay in stop motion is that you basically you can do everything. Everything depends on your skill and your patience, on your time, your schedule and stuff. But of course you can do everything. Like if you have different kind of puppets, for example, it's happened to work with a lot of different puppets, maybe with carded wool or silicone or resin, like a face replacement, like the puppets from Leica, for example. Every kind of aesthetic it's kind of manifest and depends from the aesthetic of the film that you want to show. Here it was the clay, and we decided to use the clay for showing the clay. Because a lot of time also in stop motion you have the possibility maybe to fake a material with another one. Like for example, if my puppet is a full clay body, maybe I can think to use silicone to replace clay, maybe in some point. Use silicone with a cast, with a model, you can replace your body, and every time during the animation I don't have the bad stuff like squishing too much the clay or doing this kind of thing. But we decided to use the clay to show this particular material and to be honest with the audience and regarding the clay, because here it's so important. It's like the clay here is like a flesh in playing God. Is the flesh of this character in some way. So it was so important to have this material on screen.
Yeah, even the color remind on flesh, actually.
Yeah, it's like the color is, yes, we use this color for the terracotta, for the clay, for the flesh, for,
So I just want to ask quickly about your studio, Studio Croma, which I think you founded, Matteo, you co-founded back in 2010. And then you joined 6-7 years later, didn't you, Arianna?
Yeah, actually, the group was a collective of artists, and I joined the collective in 2017. And
Okay.
then the other professionals, decide at some point to go through other path in their life, and we remain like me and Matteo. And then in 2021, the collective, we founded the company, actually. So we are the founder of the company in 2021.
Okay, all right.
Our group, was different.
And am I right in thinking that Playing God is the first feature to come from, or the first short film to come from the studio?
Nope.
In some ways, like studio, like a company, so
like a
produced
company.
by searching money, making co-production. We are in co-production with Auteur de Minuit in France. So in some ways, yes, because the previous project everything was from other production companies, and we work like just maybe, director, sometimes like building animators and stuff. So like, like a company, basically it's our first project.
Okay.
Let's say this is the most serious production, and it started in 2017, and then after we got we were like a production, okay, but before there was a lot of experiment, like we did like 7 short films.
No, yes. So actually it's fun because it's like when you tell like so this is a 7 years production film, and everyone say what? But basically
I can believe that actually.
In these 7 years, actually, the fun part is that 6 year is just for convince the other to make this film, and 1 year it was to making basically. So
actually it's not like so simple, because we started in 2017 like understanding even like doing experiment in animating, in clay animation, and then we weren't so happy about the result, and we experimented the technique a lot during the years. So yeah, at the end last year we finished the film after 1 year and a half of actual animation, the definitive one. But before there was a lot of attempts
preparation, attempt,
preparation.
making this a lot of technical part of this project was not so simple at all, like completely experimental, like.
Yeah, the most difficult part, is that inside the film there are three different kind of stop motion, like puppet animation, clay animation, and then pixelation too. And the most difficult part at the beginning was for us to understand how to match them together, because they have different way to realize it, even in terms of time to realize. For example, for clay animation and puppet animation, you spend even 40 minutes for prepare a frame and then take your picture. But then pixelation require you to be fast, super fast. So at the beginning it was difficult to understand how to match them together to make not the actor suffer a lot.
No, it was easy. It wasn't like impossible to think at the time. I remember like most of the scene that actually are in the film back in 2018 or 19 or something was absolutely impossible to imagine. Like, how can I stay, for example, because the pixelation technique is have a real human body on set. And actually, most of the film is with a human being on set. And the magic was to interact, that human being are able to interact with the fantasy, with the clay puppets. But for making that, it's mean that a real human have to stay completely still on the set without moving,
Yeah,
because,
maybe for 6 hours.
Yes, because it's really easy. Can you imagine have your hands on set and your hands start to crumble like just a little bit? It's enough to have all the scene is ruined completely, like flickered hands and stuff. So we have experimented a lot. We have built, for example, by the way, I'm the pixelation actor.
He was the actor.
It was painful as fuck, but so for most of the scene, we have used, for example, an armature wire to glue on my hands and to connect my hands. So basically, I become like a puppet. So basically, my performance was just stay still, like in the set with all the supports, and Arianna just moving my hands like a puppet for most of the time.
Yeah, very millimeter way, like yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So we start to think about this, and we experimented a lot during the year. Of course, it was like a stop and go every time, because without money and the idea to make a production, everything was like working in another projects, advertise and stuff, collect some money and invest this money to experimenting and stuff, and then stop and start another job, and that's it. But at the end, we start seriously in 2021. That actually we start with a Kickstarter campaign. That actually was like a good starting point, like to believe, in something more, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, to make even the regional funds organization to trust in us, trust in our company, to invest in our company. So then in 2022 we get the regional funds and we were able to cover part of the work, then the national funds. So it was a kind of process, to build all the budget.
You can imagine. And I've got to say, I'm really impressed with how you've described, for a layperson like me, the techniques involved in bringing the characters to life with the animation and using Matteo as the live action sort of model, if you like, to capture every moment. I think that's incredible. It's incredible work what you do. and requires a lot of patience, obviously. I would just want to talk about the story of the film's story and its themes because it's certainly, from what I've read, Matteo, very personal to you. But I'd also like to know what it is about. Now, I know you're working together in the same company, but Arianna, the film must also have drawn you, the story must have drawn you to want to make it and not just do a good job professionally, but as a storyteller and an artist to really do the story justice. So let's start with the catalyst or the inspiration, where it all started to craft that story. What was it that sort of made you want to sort of delve into that?
Let's start with the story,
Okay.
where everything started.
Yes. So basically, the story was like a spark at the beginning, like, and for that reason, I'd love to say that it was personal, like, but it was just, everything starts from like a burnout in that moment when is the moment. It was a moment of my life that it was like 8 year working, like all my 20 working in stop motion, making stuff that I was not happy to make in some ways. So spending a lot of time researching, making puppets, making stuff, setting, and in a lot of projects. But at the end, it was like a strong feeling to make something personal, to make something cinema. I love cinema, I love everything, and it was like a lot of idea. I was feeling to feel like a little bit compressed in this reality, and not happy, like creating and destroying, like entering like in a build to fall, every time. So this was the spark from this story for this story. But at the end, and it was just at the beginning, Playing God as supposed to be like 2 minutes short film, 1 minute and something, just a quick sketch about this creator that start to create a new sculpture. The sculpture is done, and then ending credits. During the time, it's become something different because the story is become not just my story, but our story, like the story of me and Arianna, me and Gianmarco, that actually is the co-writer and the storyboard artist, and Guglielmo, the other guy that make the DOP of the project, and all the guys involved in the project. Actually, the musician Pier Dano Ferni, was everything start to grow like collective work, and we
And we cared a lot about it at some point.
yeah, but we built together a story that actually is a story, is actually can be tell like a sad story, but at the end you have the possibility to reflect about be a part of a group, be a part of when you feel maybe when you can destroy. Because, for example, my personal feeling about the project is to see the main character represent the ego in some ways. This is what I feel about the project, and the sculpture is who can create you the ego, that you are able to surround the other and watching the other like a monster, and at the end it's happened something that you lose your face, so you lost your ego, and at the end you can remain from the other, are able to accept you for what you are. And I think that yes, this way is the short film is become not just telling a story of a sculptor and his sculpture, but it's become a way to see the life, the world around you, and for making this, it's required a time, because we start with no ideas, like there was nothing about that at the beginning, And for making this short film is require a lot of dialogue, a lot of self-experience, writing, rewriting again, thinking why I'm talk about this, why it's my main focus, my main idea, and at the end is grow like a child, I can say.
Yeah, for me it was the same. When we started, as Matteo said, the story wasn't like that. So we started with this idea let's do something important, something big, something really well done, really important for our career, etc. And we started with this idea, and we trusted each other to believe in the process. And what's the interesting for me on the film is that the story, you can find a key on the story, your personal key. Like for me, the most important feeling about the film is that the abandoning part, that feeling that for sure you're gonna feel in your life, in some point of your life, because you feel maybe happen that you can lost a partner, or you can lost a friend too. Yeah. So for me that was my main point, and I think that the part of the film where the character experiment for the first time that feeling is the stronger for me, because I put a lot of me inside that part. So yeah.
And it's about the reference, I think the main reference can be easily Jens van Meyer, since the beginning, like the idea to make something similar working with clay, from his previous short film, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or the mention of dialogue, for example. This kind of things that you watch. For me, I watched the stop motion short film of Svank Meyer when I was I don't remember, high school or something, and it was like mind blowing for the first time. Like, what the fuck are you watching? It's incredible, because also the meaning, the meaning that are incredible crafting short film. So this was the main reference, and the other reference are painter, Italian painter, sculpture, of course, the cinema. About my favorite film are horror film, I can have to admit.
Our city too, our environment.
Our environment, yes, the David Cronenberg, the philosophy of flesh of David Cronenberg, Lars von Trier, and all the director that actually I love. So it's like so everything it start like like a universe of sparks all around, and during the time everything is become a planet in some ways. It's become dense, the main idea is become the core, is start to create everything. And for that reason, I love to say that this project was a good excuse to make some practice and involve
A lot.
like a professional and of course like a human. It was a nice path.
We grew up a lot with this film in terms of person and in terms of our skills, our company too, the production, and our connection. So it was important, really important for us.
It's certainly must have been a challenging project, because, as you mentioned, there's no dialogue in the film. It's all told through the main character of this claymation character, and it's through expression, facial expressions in the eyes, and yet you've managed to convey all those emotions. In terms of, but it's not just the animation that makes it, although, Arianna, that is the most important part, because if something's out of place, as you've said, you've got to start again, or it throws everything out. But there is the direction Matteo gives, and then there's the other elements that come into it. You mentioned, I told you my English wasn't that great.
No,
You mentioned the cinematographer, Guglielmo, and
Guglielmo.
also you also have the musician, Pier Dano.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they come in, they formulate the story, but they're important as well in conveying the emotion and the events that's happening. What sort of direction was given to them in terms of what you wanted to see or what you wanted to put onto the camera? Did they bring their own ideas to the table, or did you go in clear and say, right, this is what we want?
So basically, Guglielmo was actually one of my friends from the high school. So we started Studio Croma together. Now we have two different lives, but we work together. And actually, we developed like a kind of symbiosis. Uh, so basically, my idea is sometimes we know when you have to follow me, and I know when I have to follow you. And together, basically, we are power. So actually, it, what he did in Playing God is incredible because actually of course, everything starts together, but basically his energy on set, like building stuff, moving here, have a lot of reference, have the perfectly clear ideas of what he has to make, because of course we are doing a lot of research for making this kind of light. And during the time, the light are changed in some ways. The concept was the same since the beginning, like a main light, a main spot, but everything had to be dark but lighter in some ways. And during the time we have
But I remember that you gave him like a Caravaggio reference. Like, do you know Caravaggio, the
leg,
painter?
yeah.
No?
No, no, not heard of him.
Caravaggio is one of the most famous painter from
Yeah.
the end of the Renaissance, and actually is famous to have this really strong contrast of light, like from light and darkness.
Yeah, his painting are really dark with sometimes these really strong spots of light, really cutted like that. So the
Okay.
reference
Mhm.
So
about that.
yes, actually we have clay, we have wood, we have this tungsten light bulb or stuff. So basically, we start to create this idea of light, but it's not just the director of photography. It's just like a man to have on your set, you know, because in stop motion also this is really important. Like if I have to put the difficult spot of light in specific point, because maybe it's impossible to have a light here because there is the animator, and this is, you know, you have to understand and build specific stuff. So of course this was like a 50-50 in some ways. And with Pier Dano also, Pier Dano was a savior. Like my first fear that I was when we started to make the music was to dive in just to make a horror film, like making the wrong music in that film that is mean have like a, I don't know, blockbuster horror film, random horror and stuff. And Pier Dani was brilliant because he thought watching the clay and stuff to using ocarinas. You know the clay instrument, ocarinas. That actually we have a place here in Bologna that is called Budrio. That actually is the place when they make ocarinas and export ocarinas all around the world.
Yeah, they invented the
Fun
system.
fact, fun fact. So we decide to go there, buying a lot of ocarinas because the ocarinas have different tone, depends from the size and stuff. And yes, he started to play ocarinas and campionate, putting together all the sounds, using computers, singing. Also, Pier Dano is a singer here in UK. Has a band like Husky Loops are called. We make a music video for them. So with a lot of, you know, artistic sensibility, and we are like we develop a team that we are friends in all the life, but we develop like a synergy. And this is, I think it was so beautiful to see in this production, watching synergies and
Everyone with their specific skills and talent,
yes,
matching that
yes.
together in.
Because, you know, I can like a director, I can write everything about the music, like what you have to feel, because I'm not a technician, you know, what you have to feel from the second one to the second nine, you know, sorry, second nine, minute nine. So from the start to the end. But if there is no synergy and developing the correct emotion, that actually have to convince everyone. Was the difficult part, because maybe it was something for me is good, but listen to Arianna and to the other was like, no, I'm not convinced about this part, you know. So yes, I think that synergy is the best way.
Yeah, when we started the music part, it was a difficult moment for us because we were in the ending part of animation. I was starting with the French group, the post-production part, both together, and then Matteo was following, yeah, of course, the organization of then the last animation part, and then the music part, so all together. So we were super stressed, really super stressed. And Pier Dano in this case was really brilliant because he found the correct sound. I would say not the first try, but almost the first try.
Almost, yeah,
So
almost.
it was fantastic. Matteo just said, you know, he gave just some keywords for the different part of the film, because if you watch it, you can divide it in
We have worked
in chapter.
we have worked previously for 2 weeks or something to make references and stuff. To understand also the reference was difficult because the last time that we was thinking about music was in 2019. During this time, the film has developed a lot. So we found ourselves in the last part of the film without have a concrete ideas about music and sound. So it was like a rush, you know. So we have to understand the music now, and we start from there. But yes, it was like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the music and the way it's filmed really add depth to the story and bring the emotions that the character is going through to the fore in quite a dramatic way. It's one of the first things I noticed. So great job on that. I think hats off to you all for producing something that really pulls on the heartstrings, and I think a lot of people can draw so many interpretations from that. Which brings me to this question, and there's no right or wrong answer, but I'm interested in your thoughts on this. The title is Playing God. And if you read the synopsis, it's obvious who is playing God. But is it possible that just maybe that God, or the idea of God in the film, is our main character, in that he's creating this community, this acceptance, and this resilience to be accepting of who he is and okay with it, maybe?
Yeah, it's a nice way to interpret the story. Yeah. Even the god is the animator too, so there are a lot of god in this film. Yeah.
You know, of course, we have to pay attention because, of course, it's not a religious meaning. Sometimes it's happened to talk about God like in the religious meaning, but let's talk about creator. Like, yeah, so there is many way to consider, like also an artist basically can be a god, you know, the best artist in the world that you maybe are inspired to. Like if I see the sculptor from Michelangelo, for example. It's stunning experience to watch, you know. And if you see this really huge sculpture of basically it's you go to see the Cappella Sistina, what's the name in English? The
Sistina
Yeah, the Sistine Chapel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sistine
Chapel,
Chapel,
yeah.
yes. It was like what? But here everything is skill, talent, and a lot of effort, and of course ego. Like I want to watch the world and everyone what I'm able to do. So in this way, I put myself like a god in some ways. This Cappella Sistina was for the church, was for God, but Michelangelo was the real God to, you know, create this for something that, yes, it's playing God basically explore this kind of stuff, but at the end, searching a specific meaning. Like if you create a lot, what is the pain? Also, you can create pain, and this is actually is a meaning that you can see in our society, of course.
The agony and the ecstasy, I suppose, is one with.
For example, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So the film's finished, obviously, and it's going to premiere at Tribeca Film Festival, which, for those who don't know, anybody listening, first off, shame on you, because it's a very big event. It's right up there with Sundance and all the other sort of main film festivals. But having finished the film and gone back to watch, because I'm presuming you've gone back and watched it from start to finish, how did it impact you both? And we can start with you this time, Arianna. How did it impact you both when you watched it from start to finish, personally, but also as the creative artists that you are?
Yeah, as I said before, playing God helped a lot us to grow up like professionists. And for me, watching it, for example, we premiered it in Venice for the first time, and
September 2024.
exactly last year, and watching it on the big screen with such a huge, audience. The theater was full, and for me it was something incredible because I start to think like, oh my God, I did it. Like it was impossible for me because there were like really difficult shots. Like for example, the shot with the 100 creature together, where there is the slow slide in, and then the main character smash his face on the table. That was really, I would say, the most complicated shot in the film.
And in your life, probably.
And in my life too, yes. And when we started to prepare that shot, I was totally scared because I was thinking oh my God, how can I do that? It's too difficult for me. But then I did it. So watching the whole film on the theater, yeah, it was a satisfaction for me and a lesson for me that really you can do everything if you put your effort, your passion, your talent. Everything is possible. So it helped me a lot. Of course, it's not a rule for me because happens sometime even now that I find myself like thinking, oh my God, I'm not able to do this simple stuff, but of course, it was helpful. Yeah. For you.
Yeah, and I mean we have running since Venice a lot of festival, like more than 19 or something, and every time it's amazing for me have the possibility to watch Playing God on the big screen, watching other short film on the big screen. because at the end, there is this change of ideas about the project, and of course, it's always like a strong satisfaction to watch your effort in some ways on big screen. And
Even
for
because
example,
you remember all
yeah,
the time, like if you see all the shots, you can
yeah.
remember
For us, it's
the
like
time.
it's like to watch a photograph album.
Yeah.
You can see your past 7 years in that film, your struggle, your happiness
Everything.
moment, your happy moment and stuff. But except that, yes, it's incredible because the moment when you realize that actually is did, is finished. And of course, you want to find the bigger premiere. You expect a lot about this festival run and stuff. You expect to have the most, but at the same point, maybe yes, you have an important screenings. You have your important festival, but everything. The most important thing is going there and meeting the people and talk with the people about ideas and about the stuff. And in some ways, it's happened the same story of a short film. Like my ego maybe when everything it started from having like I want to be in Cannes, I want to be in this here and here. At the end, I found myself the best experience to going to the festival is not winning the Grand Prix or something. Is diving in the people and talking with the people about stuff and for that reason. And for that reason, you have maybe the new ideas to write new story, to think other stuff, because it's like to have a lot of um, energy, and this is the most great stuff to go into the festivals. Yeah.
Moving on from playing God, then. So, what does the future hold for Croma? What do you want? What do you want to move on to next?
Yeah, we have the studio, so we normally we are working on our commission, our job, and then we are, like I said, a production. So now we just finished another short film, which is a co-production with Portugal, and now we have to just start the distribution. This is a puppet making animation from a Portuguese director. She's called Carolina Batista. The short film is called The Last Shock. Now we have to understand if we are going to change the title, but anyway, in our social media, then we will publish everything. And then I think in the last part of the year, we will start another production with Greece, co-production for a short film. So yeah, those are our two main projects now in production and in distribution with Playing God. And then in the future.
And then, actually, we are developing to new ideas to make new short film. Of course, we start to make all of this at the time for trying maybe one day a feature film. But of course, it's not the time for us
This is
because
our dream to make a
yes,
feature film,
we
of
have to
course.
involve a lot of more, and of course, as we said, we for our cinema aptitude in some ways, we want to explore this kind of cinema. Like it's difficult also a perspective to making animation without be properly animation for the other. And making animation and not be animation, but at the same time not be a live action. Can you accept, guys, us like what we are? And
Yeah, because sometimes it's a bit tricky.
and for from this thinking, it start to be a new ideas. And because try to imagine this world when maybe an AI with an algorithm discover with some researches how it can be after the death. And basically, at the same point, everyone start to suicide, to going on this vision, you know. But our story is from a young adult and his mother years later. And the story is talk about surviving at this situation with a generation of the mother that actually is surrendered to the reality, and the young adult that actually want to discover more and want to discover a new world that actually doesn't exist anymore. So this basically is the idea, and we are start to develop a new world, a new way, and also to make another short film that actually we want a more running time. We were thinking maybe something around 17 or 18 minutes. That's it. So let's hope to move forward with new projects that, of course, it's not light at all, but we don't have to be heavy. We just want to be ourselves and try to
Create something,
yes,
yeah,
our vision
amazing.
of the world. Of course, it's not a simple time to be alive, to be an artist. It's for me can be more difficult to be happy with a happy story at this moment. Sometimes when I see a really happy animation stories, I remain like, oh, what do you from? Are you coming from another planet or? Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah, when Matteo say, "Do you accept me?" Like with this animation project, which is not so an animation project because sometimes it's a bit difficult, you know, to be in the animation field because there is always this idea that animation is or for kids or for experiment and to be an artist. So to create this
Yes.
abstract stuff or poetic stuff, more French style, let's say. And Playing God is a bit more near the live action world, but is in the middle. So sometimes, so now we are in distribution since last year, and we start to understand. We started to understand that in some festival we are more accepted in the live action festival, for example, the animation festival sometimes watch our film like a bit putting some distance on it. So
Yeah.
it's a bit in the middle. I don't know. So he was meaning that, right?
No, I get that. I
Yeah.
get that. So I hope you got time for just one more question, and this is just something I'd like you to share with anybody. Excuse me, something I'd like you to share with people listening or watching. It's basically just wondered what your thoughts on what advice you would give to somebody who wanted to, A, be a filmmaker general, whether it's directing or writing projects, but also as an animator, whether that's stop motion or graphic animations, as we call. What advice would you give to people coming to you for that help, especially if, like yourselves, they come from a region where maybe they don't have access to all the schools
Yeah.
and the expertise that could coach or mentor them?
Yeah, I always answer on this question because I received this question a lot even in the past. It's important to find your group of of people. Like it's really important to not work alone, but work with people that in some ways are connected with you.
And inspiring you, actually.
Yeah, and you can inspire each other. So this is I would say the most important thing. So even though maybe there are not good school for animation in your country, in your specific country, just go on a university that it's near on the path that you want to follow and just try to find your person to work together, and I think that is the first step to create your career and to start something strong, for your future. This is the most important stuff.
And the other is like, just practice, because
Don't give up.
yes, I because it's, if you make practice of yourself, it's not difficult to have an access of a piece of technology that maybe you are able to make a stop motion nowadays. It just needs a camera, an USB connector, and a computer. Can be a laptop also, I don't know, and the Dragon Frame software or whatever, and that's it. Actually, maybe some light, yes, if you want to make a set, but you can make a lot of experiment at the beginning. Like every one of us, it start with a little clay ball, or maybe moving objects, or can be a good exercise for starting understand the physics and the object. So actually, if I have this one, or maybe this one is much cooler, like for example, you can take your pencil. So just I have this one on my desk, and can be just good to have a little jump of this, or just moving a little bit, So you can start playing with this kind of stuff, and it's not difficult. Of course, after that you have to find the people, because making things alone, of course, is more difficult, because you have to be you need to have more
Because do you remember in our beginning point, like I had some bad days, and you were like the one that was saying, "Come on, let's continue to do that," and then the contrary.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's really important to have someone that share with you your ideas and your passions too. So to create something powerful together.
Yes, but by the way, it's a really amazing medium, and there is a lot of possibility. You can make stop motion with pencil, you can make stop motion with oil paintings, we can do cutout, you can do with clay, 3D or 2D with a multiplan camera. You can do basically everything, and just discover the stuff and try to find the most simple one to start. But you need to have a starter point. Most of the time, a lot of people said, "Oh, but for making stop motion, I have to build a puppet, I have to make this."
It's expensive.
It's expensive. You can start with something really, really simple. Just, taking a glass and buy some oil color and start to make oil painting, like Toccafondo, for example, the artist, Italian one. That actually you can have a lot of really nice effects. You can understand the framing and everything. And of course, if you find someone, maybe you can buy some online workshop. There is some good online workshop maybe to try to make stop motion.
Nowadays there are a lot of contents about stop motion, even online. So there are a lot of possibility to start in a simple way, and then create your own project.
Well, that's it for this episode of Cine Bijou. Thanks for joining us as we pulled open the curtain once more, revealing the world of independent film and the creative mavericks who make it all happen. You can find this and every other episode on Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, and of course, Apple Podcasts. And if you enjoyed this episode, why not leave a star review or drop us a comment? It's a small gesture, sure, but it means the world to us, and it helps fellow film fans find their way to us too. Make sure you also follow us on all the usual social media haunts: Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. And for reviews, features and more, why not pay us a visit at our website www.cine-bijou.co.uk. And if you are spreading the word, please don't forget to use the hashtag #SupportIndieFilm, because every share helps keep great stories in the spotlight. Until next time, keep listening, keep discovering, and as ever, let's keep that indie flame burning.